Meet Sam Newton, travel film director, Canon USA ambassador, and my best friend. Okay, that last one might not be true. Anyway, Sam is a filmmaker, or as he prefers, a content creator who makes these really inspiring cinematic music videos, which while also being pretty funny, are actually, as the kids call it,
bangers.
And Sam, after dropping this absolute masterpiece in collaboration with DJI, who makes some really good drones like my drone, the Mini 3 Pro, started a contest on Instagram challenging all the drone pilots out there to make a video with his song in the background, and the person with the most creative drone shot would win a DJI Mavic 3 Pro, which is essentially a much beefier version of my drone. Now here's a little bit of background. I had been lusting after the Mini 3 Pro for months and had finally gotten it in April, and already after about 3 months was already looking to get a better drone. Anyway, so the contest had been going on for a while, and I had decided to make my entry video on July 10, 2 days before the contest ended. So I'm at home, it's my day off, and after watching some of the other entries, who by the way were just absolutely mind-blowing, after seeing the really high quality entries, I decided my plan of attack. I knew that I wasn't going to win on pure cinematics because 1, I'm a pretty new drone pilot and filmmaker and pretty realistic about my skill set, and 2, while I love Texas, my area in particular isn't known for mind-blowing scenery, especially during our 120-degree summers, so I decided to take the approach of thinking a little bit outside the box with this one. Now Sam, his MO is being a bit of a jokester, infusing a lot of humor into his work and music videos, so I thought maybe this would hit a special place in his heart. So here was the thought. I was going to make a story about how my little drone wanted to become as big and strong as the bigger drone, so I got to work and started filming, decided to start the video off in the studio with my drone flying up to the computer like he was about to start typing, with his cup of batteries in the mug next to him, and he would look over at the picture frame and see the picture of the big drone. Now this took a bit of work. DJI does not really recommend flying their drones indoors, but I took the risk and went for it anyways, and I finished shooting that first scene, drone unscathed, and went to the computer to edit and review the footage, and I just hated it. I wasn't really a big fan of what I shot, and my wife walks into the living room and comes over to see what I was up to, and I look at her and I said, I suck. I really suck. And as I'm saying that, all the other entries are flashing through my head. All these beautiful cinematic shots, crazy drone moves, and beautiful color grades are just playing in my mind. And my wife, she looks at me and she says, to be honest, y'all, I don't really remember what she said, but this is the gist. Your footage is fine, and you should just be proud that you're shooting the video, that you're doing the thing. And that leads us to the lesson of the day. Stop playing the comparison game. Now you might be saying, Luke, what is the comparison game? I've never played that game before. We all play it every day. Maybe even more so now that social media is almost an inescapable part of our lives. I play it when I'm scrolling and I see a cinematic video, and I look at it, and the thought is usually one of two things. I can make a video better or just as good as this one, or that's amazing. I wish I could make something as good as that. Mark Batterson, in his book Please Sorry Thanks, says this: no one wins the comparison game. The outcome is either pride or jealousy, so either way, you lose. In my first thought, there's a bit of pride, a little bit of I'm just as good as you are, or I'm better than you. And in the second thought, I'm telling myself the same thing I told my wife and myself that morning: I suck. I was heavily invested in the comparison game, and as a result, I became jealous. And possibly had it not been for my wife, who helped me get out of my head, I may not have shot that video. In a viral tweet, one of my favorite authors, Jon Acuff, put it this way: don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. And I'll admit, I've done it way too many times. Preparing for my first weddings last year, I watched tons of videos to prep from wedding videographers with 10, 15 plus years of experience, which were extremely helpful, but the night before my first, I remember I had an absolute meltdown. I was questioning, why did I invest so much money into all this camera and audio gear? I'm a fraud. Tomorrow is the day everyone finds out I'm not a real videographer, just this guy who does his stupid YouTube videos. I had some really messed up soundtracks playing in my head. Great book, by the way, also by Jon Acuff. And then I watched this video from the OG wedding educator, Matt Johnson, which showed his first wedding video ever. And in the video, he is absolutely just roasting himself, which helped me lighten up and laugh a bit because it was actually pretty terrible, and it was kind of funny that he could laugh at himself. And that helped me temper my expectations and how insane it was to put that much pressure on myself for my first wedding. In elementary, high school, college, grades were the way that we could keep track of how well we were doing, and I would always kind of compare myself to my peers. In the 4th grade, this was probably super lame, but me and some of the other students had created an unofficial ranking for the smartest in the class, just kind of like a top 10. After we leave school, we don't get grades anymore, and we tend to adopt the culture's grading system, comparing our bank account, job titles, possessions to our friends, family, and peers. Like I talked about in my last video, in his also excellent book, which I just listened to, All It Takes Is a Goal, Jon Acuff says this: "In the absence of a scorecard, your brain will use someone else's. If you compare your life to someone else's scorecard, you always come up lacking." Our lives are also different, with so many factors contributing to where we currently are at in our lives, which means using someone else's scorecard and comparing our lives to theirs is really not very useful, and if anything, can be harmful. Take, for example, the original inspiration for my YouTube channel, habits expert and filmmaker Matt Diavella.
This is my new YouTube channel.
When he started his YouTube channel, he was already a full-time freelance filmmaker and also the director of one of my favorite documentaries, Minimalism: Live a Meaningful Life. If I used his scorecard as someone who had just got his first camera and had a grand total of 0 videos under my belt,
one does not simply walk into Mordor.
My score would be awful because the expectation is so much higher than I can reasonably achieve. When I started as a nurse, I did the same thing. I fell into the trap of comparing my care and level of knowledge to the nurses who had 5, 10, 15, 20 years under their belt.
No, Rose, they are not breathing, and they have no arms or legs.
Which again, not really a great idea. Maybe we do this because we're so used to comparing ourselves to our classmates in school, but when you get out into the real world, everyone's scorecard changes because of how different all of our lives are, and it's not really an accurate way of tracking our progress. And so reluctantly, I got back to work. I shot the scene where my drone is landing on the food scale to get his starting weight. Then I went to the garage to shoot a little training montage where my drone is practicing flying against the wind. So I'm fanning with these Asian folding hand fans, and I actually used my 2 garage fans and just kind of blasted them at the drone, which made the propellers actually go faster and made the drone shake a little bit like it's training really hard. And in the video, I said, halfway through making the video, I came to a realization. And to be completely honest and transparent, I came to 2 realizations. The first one I said in the video, which was probably the more noble one. I realized I already have a really good drone. And the second one was maybe not as noble. I didn't have a lot of time left in the day and I needed to edit this video. So I cut the production short. I really wish I could have finished the idea through. But one of the other things about Sam, which may be why I relate so much to him, is that he's a bit of a sappy fellow like myself, really introspective and reflective when it comes to his work and life, which I also tend to be. So I thought I'd go the introspective, profound route and maybe get him that way. So bada bing, bada boom, did a little bit of editing magic, and the video was done and I posted it. And I get up to go to the bathroom after I finished editing, and as I'm leaving the bathroom, I'm on my phone and I see a notification on the top of my screen. And I click on it and my jaw just absolutely drops to the floor. And my wife's in the living room watching TV, and I just bust into the room like the Kool-Aid man. Oh yeah! I was like, babe, look. And I show her the phone, and her jaw drops to the floor too, and there it was. There he was. Bigfoot. No, actually, it was just a comment on my post from Sam. He commented, "Love it, brother. Fire, fire, fire." And then he shared it on his story saying, "This is a great example of using the audio and making it your own." And this was a really awesome moment for me because 1, Sam is a bit of a hero to me and a huge inspiration, like I said, so to be acknowledged by him was a really cool moment. And 2nd, it was when I came to another realization. If I had gotten stuck playing the comparison game that morning, this really cool experience would never have happened. I really was close to giving up on making the video. I was like, oh, screw it, just a waste of time. I'm not even gonna win the competition. But who knows, you play the comparison game long enough and eventually you lose the game, because losing the game is not doing the work, because the thought is, if it's not perfect or better than others, why do it at all? Like Mark Batterson said, it leads to either pride or jealousy, and if you let either pride or jealousy rule your life, you get stuck in what Dweck calls a fixed mindset. And that is a whole series of future videos because I had a very deeply ingrained fixed mindset for much of my life, so I have a lot of stories, but here's how Dr. Dweck defines it. In the fixed mindset, everything is about the outcome. If you fail or if you're not the best, it's all been wasted. The growth mindset allows people to value what they're doing regardless of the outcome. They're tackling problems, charting new courses, working on important issues. Maybe they haven't found the cure for cancer, but the search was deeply meaningful. And while in this story time with Luke, the outcome was good for me, although I didn't win the contest, I think the part that I should be most proud of is the fact that even though I had so many doubts and insecurities about my abilities, I did the work, I did the thing. Jon Acuff again hits it on the head with this quote from his book: "Whether you win or lose, whether you ever get to see the impact, whether anyone even knows you did the thing you're doing. You're going to keep doing it because the joy of getting better propels you. And I think in my life, the more I adapt this attitude of continual improvement and just getting better every day, the more fulfilled I will be and the more joy I will experience. Since finishing this drone video, I've probably shot and edited at least 20 more videos, whether Instagram Reels, YouTube videos, wedding or church videos, and I know with each video, I'm getting better. And I think that's the only kind of comparison we should be doing. In our own scorecard, maybe we need to be asking ourselves this: are the actions I'm taking today going to make me better than I was yesterday? And just as important, is what I'm doing today helping me fulfill my potential? Emphasis on my potential, not anyone else's. In the words of a great philosopher,
stay in your lane.
Now, I'm not telling you to not take inspiration from those who are more experienced and knowledgeable. There's so much wisdom in learning from others, which is why I'm such a huge advocate for investing in yourself and reading a ton. But the most important thing is that you do the work and the growth will follow.
Yes,